I'm Dustin, welcome to Fantasy Smack Talk. As always, after a week of football, plenty to talk about on the waiver wire. Real quick, thank you to thirdndown.com for sponsoring this video. If you haven't checked out their website yet, go ahead, get on there, check out their t-shirt, get a sleeper pick shirt. They have added a few other designs on there, so check them out if you haven't already. Let's talk about the running backs. A couple of people to get excited about. Dwayne Washington, one of my new man crushes. I mean, I think this is a perfect situation for him. I mean, Abdullah appears to be out for the year. There was some conflicting reports there, but Theo Riddick is a very good football player, and he will continue to be heavily involved in that offense, but he's just not a three-down back. I mean, it was very obvious right out of the gate last week that he's just not going to be that guy between the tackles. Dwayne Washington could be the guy that they're looking for. Absolute must-add, all leagues. He should get the goal lines as well. Jordan Howard, another very interesting player. Langford got hurt. They're saying it's only a sprain, could be a high ankle sprain. Either way, Jordan Howard's going to get probably at least a couple starts here to show us what he can do. He's looked pretty good. Unfortunately for Langford owners, he was having a pretty good game before he got hurt week 3. But Howard has looked pretty good as well, so this is a big opportunity for the kid. Must add in all leagues as well, just to see what he can do. He could be kind of tough to start just until we see exactly what he can do, but he could definitely have some value over the next couple of weeks. I want to talk about the Philly situation. Ryan Matthews got banged up. It turned into kind of a nasty timeshare after he did, so that kind of gave us a little bit of an idea of what would happen if and when Matthews does miss time for an extended period of time. Eagles have a bye week 4, but I do think Wendell Smallwood is worth a look in all deeper leagues, and in really deep leagues, I think Kenyon Barner is very interesting as well. I actually liked Barner a little bit more coming into the year, but Smallwood seems to have jumped him in the depth chart. It probably would be somewhat of a nasty timeshare if Matthews goes down, but Smallwood definitely worth a look in deeper leagues. And don't forget about hurt guys as well. Kenneth Dixon out there in Baltimore. In some leagues, you can pick Dixon up and put him on your IR spot if you have an IR spot, so try and do that if you can. But no one's really looked that good at running back in Baltimore. If Dixon comes in, gets healthy, plays well, he could be the featured back towards the end of the season when it counts the most. Talk about the Giants situation. Shane Vereen out for the year, kind of a shocking report came out today about that. Now you look at who's left. I mean, Jennings, it's looking like he could play week 4, but we'll see. But Orleans Darkwa seems to be the pickup here if you're looking for someone to add. Rainey's going to factor in a little bit as well, but I don't really have a ton of confidence in him in terms of fantasy value. Darkwa's interesting. I mean, if Jennings misses more time, he could be a decent spot start. I don't really like him that much long term, but in deeper leagues, if you're desperate, he could be a decent pickup. DeAndre Washington, I want to talk about him out in Oakland. He's starting to factor in that backfield a little bit more than what we were thinking. It looked like Murray was going to continue to kind of be the workhorse, and he's been playing well, but so is Washington. So they've been factoring him in a little bit more. He's been looking pretty good. I think he's definitely worth just, Murray owners, stash him on your bench as a high upside handcuff. Even if you don't own Murray, I like him. It's just a high upside guy to add to your bench. Moving on to receivers. Now again, this is just a portion of the list. Click on the link in the description, get onto the website, and you can see the full list along with a little write-up on each guy. But I want to talk about receivers. Terrell Pryor Sr., very, very good game for him week 3. I mean, he's one of the few playmakers left on that Cleveland offense, and he looked pretty good. But here's what I do want to say about him before you go crazy over trying to pick him up. I do think he's a must-add in all leagues because I think he could have solid short-term value. But remember, Coleman was out. Josh Gordon's coming back. They were really relying on him because McCown was out, so he was getting some snaps at quarterback. I'm not saying it's fluky. Pryor is a very talented player. I'm just saying once everyone's healthy out there, he could be not necessarily the odd man out, but there'll be a lot more mouths to feed, so I'm not expecting that many repeat performances, but I do think he's an interesting add. Victor Cruz, we need to start respecting him a little bit more. There's 3 receivers out there that have fantasy value right now, and so far they've all had decent fantasy value each week. The Giants are spreading the ball around, and they are all contributing. So Victor Cruz seems to be healthy. I'm happy to see it. He only had 3 targets, he only had 3 catches, but he had 70 yards. So he's still finding a way to get it done each week. I think he needs to be owned in all leagues. A guy that's very close between the border deeper leagues and all leagues is Steve Smith Sr. he's looking a lot better. You know, he's trying to recover from his injury, getting up to speed, and he is looking better. So I do think you need to start paying attention to him. Consider picking him up. Quarterback Trevor Siemian, this is a guy that I talked about, way back in week 1 waiver wire, and he's coming along. I mean, the first couple games they really relied on the running game, but this is what happens, and they have a balanced offense now. I mean, if their defense is trying to stop the run, they go to the pass, and vice versa. First couple weeks, they were running the ball all over the place. They didn't really need to throw that much, but week 3, they showed that they can throw if they need to. So there could be some inconsistencies there depending on what the defense is trying to shut down, but Siemian looked really good. Carson Wentz, you've all seen what he's been doing, only on about 25% of leagues. I mean, this is a guy that has looked absolutely amazing. I mean, one of the best starts for a rookie quarterback in history, really. But, fantasy-wise, it's translating some, but he's starting to get into the conversation of maybe being worth owned in one quarterback, 12-team leagues. As a QB2, obviously any type of 2 quarterback leagues he's already owned, but starting to believe a little bit more in Wentz in terms of actually having fantasy value this year. Tight end, got a few for you. Dennis Pitta, he's healthy. He's a must-add in all leagues. I mean, as long as he's healthy, he's going to be a top 10 tight end. Joe Flacco loves that guy. Zach Ertz, the Eagles have the bye again week 4. He should be back, or he could be back week 5. He was dropped in a lot of leagues. If he was dropped in your league, you need tight end help, go ahead and pick him back up, wait him out 1 week. Then I want to talk about Kyle Rudolph and Zach Miller. These are going to be 2 very popular ads after their big games. Here's what I want to say about these guys. A lot of times something can happen in an offense and someone else benefits from it, and it's not always at the same position. But it can be kind of fluky sometimes as well. I mean, you look at the Chicago situation, Hoyer came in, he was maybe targeting Miller a little bit more than, say, Jay Cutler would. So that I contribute some of that to Miller having a big game. So when Cutler comes back, he could be in trouble. He might go back down in value a little bit. And with Rudolph, Adrian Peterson going down, I think may have actually helped his value. They might have to throw a little bit more, replace more runs with some short passes. So I think Rudolph could be onto something here and have a lot of value for the rest of the year, only on 50% of leagues. Then my pick up and play defense, going with Washington. I know Cleveland looked good. Washington's at home against Cleveland. I know Cleveland looked pretty good week 3, but I like Washington's D just a little bit more. They looked decent against the Giants week 3, and they're playing at home. They really need to win this game. I think Washington can look at the game film, for what Cleveland did with Pryor and scheme for it and plan for it, and I think they'll be able to have some success against Cleveland. So that's just a portion. Get onto the website to see the full list. Get into our forums if you got any questions. Check out Third and Out. Like this video, subscribe to our channel, leave a comment, all that good stuff. Till next time.